For example, when I stand and get ready for prayer, I say Allahu Akbar. I say that to initiate the prayer, but in appearance, nothing changes. And yet, I'm supposed to be projected instantaneously in front of God. How then is it possible to reconcile the fact that nothing changes materially while I'm supposed to be standing in front of God? The only way for me to reconcile that gap is to believe in a world that is invisible, that is beyond that materiality. And the only tool I have at hand to bridge that gap, to achieve that realization, is my imagination. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're in chapter 4, section 3, the use of imagination. So after having explained what the challenges of a purely rational thoughts are, and after having defined sentience, the capacity of feeling, as the most direct way to experience the divine, I now suggest that the use of imagination might be key to develop that sentience, that capacity to feel. So for example, when I stand and get ready for prayer, I say Allahu Akbar. Literally, God is greater. Greater than what? Greater than everything. I say that to initiate the prayer, but in appearance, nothing changes. The room stays the same, I stays the same, and yet I'm supposed to be projected instantaneously in front of God. So while I recite the verses of the Quran, I'm supposed to be speaking to Allah, with Him listening and replying back to me. Like, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, and so on. How then is it possible to reconcile the fact that nothing changes materially while I'm supposed to be standing in front of God? The only way for me to reconcile that gap is to believe in a world that is invisible, ilm al-ghaib, that is beyond that materiality. And the only tool I have at hand to bridge that gap, to achieve that realization, is my imagination. So let me give you another anecdote to illustrate the use of imagination in religion, not from a Muslim perspective, from a different faith. So that's at the time when I was living still in Switzerland, we participated in an interfaith dialogue with, it was a Buddhist monk. Max, his name was, Max, the Buddhist monk, from the Tibetan center of Khatben Schöling in Montpellier, regardless. So during that exchange, we participated into a meditation session that he led. And the session consisted in imagining Buddha's love in the form of light that gradually fills our heart like a cup. And it fills it up to the top, and then it starts overflowing our body and overflowing everything around us, the room around us, the building, the city, the world. This experience made me realize that imagination, instead of being considered delusion, is in fact a common practice in other religions to develop spirituality. So why not using it in Islam as well? Why refraining from it? I say refraining because that's science tells me that no, you have to stay objective. You have to dismiss all subjectivities. Your imagination is just you making up stuff. But then I must say, actually, science does exactly the same. It teaches me about electrons, atoms, molecules, forces in between them that are pictured in terms of like small balls here and there, and some like glue attaching each other's. These are pure imaginations of the theories. So science uses actually imaginations to make sense. So if you accept imagination in one domain, why not accepting it in the other domain, in religion? And if you look in the Quran, in the Hadith, actually their wording makes it quite explicit that yes, you should use imaginations. The descriptions are so vivid that it is fit for purpose. So when I picture the verses that I'm reciting, the highly graphical descriptions of the Quran are perfectly suited for such an exercise, to imagine what you recite. And while scientific reasoning justifies a taste vision of the world, I'll then use guided imaginations, so guided by revelation, guided imagination to depict a surrounding unseen world. And with conviction, these mental representations become realization, which ultimately helps me feel His presence. May I accept from. With this, I would like now to conclude the whole chapter. So, while mathematics and programming languages are considered ultimate languages of rationality, efficiency, their strength lies in the lack of subjectivity. Because they are constant, universal, they're ubiquitous to our daily life. I wake up with an alarm programmed on my mobile phone. I go to work using public transport whose flow is regulated by a software. At work, I'm either on my laptop or in the lab using some type of software to acquire, process, analyze data. At the store, I pay using electronic money. I use social media to interact with my family and friends. Even the prayer times, even my prayer follows a timing that is generated by a software. At every instant, my life is facilitated, either directly or indirectly, by some type of code, of software, a server, somehow, somewhere. These languages, like again mathematics, programming, dictate the way I interact with the world. And consequently, they condition my vision, my experience of the world. And as I said, the strength of programming languages lies in their lack of subjectivity. And it is that very strength that limits the expressions of my emotions. I therefore worry that my interaction with the world and with others, because they are facilitated by such limiting tools, are also confined and formatted to the pursuit of efficiency, interest, material profit. How convenient indeed are these visually appealing but emotionless numbers, flowcharts, to hide greed and inability to stand up for human dignity. Going back to my spiritual journey, I initially based it on scientific reasoning because it provides me with the argument that supports the veracity of revelation. It helps me build trust in the Prophet ﷺ and his message. Scientific reasoning therefore confirms for me a theistic vision of the world. But scientific reasoning does not allow me to experience that unseen world. It is then through sentience, my feelings, helped by imagination that is informed by revelation, that I'll be able to detach myself from a purely materialist worldview and experience the divine, inshallah. وجزاك الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.